Hey, what's up, y'all? How you doing today? Frantz here. Welcome back to Ambassador. Okay. Now, before we get started on this subject, I want to say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for being, thank you for having. I'm sorry, a listening ear, and I'm not talking about a hearing ear, but a listening ear. And I'm grateful that the Lord has continued to bless you as He's blessing me, as long as we're keeping our mind focused on the path that's straight and narrow. Now let's jump into the topic, okay? A war against sin, right? A war against sin. Now think about that. You say you're a child of God. You say you're a daughter of God. You say you're a son of God. That you're looking for the path that's straight and narrow. And if that's you, and that's you for real in your heart, because remember, we're going to be judged by the things that are in our heart. Then that means that you understand that you are in a war with sin. Okay? Yes, sin is your enemy. Sin is your enemy. The things that tempt you to sin are your enemy. Sin is your enemy. Temptation is your enemy. And many times you are your enemy. This is why you got to examine who you are. What you were about when you was in the world and what you are about now that you claim to be a child of holiness and righteousness. And I say holiness and righteousness because peep game. A lot of people say Jesus and God, but what Jesus are they talking about? Are they talking about the Jesus that says you can do whatever you want? Are they talking about God themselves? Or are they talking about the Lucifer God or the Egyptian gods? You know, what God are they talking about? You got to figure these things out, right? But truth be told, you have to remember that you now, as a child of God, daughter or son, are in a war with sin.
This is where we hold them! This is where we fight! This is where they die! And these shields, boys! Remember this day, men. that will be yours for all time.
Spartans! Lay down your weapons!
Persians! Come and get them!
So you have to recognize how sin affects you. You have to recognize how sin leads you, how it comes to your door, which means you got to recognize your temptations. You know what I'm saying? And then not just that, you got to decide that now that you're a child of God, son or daughter, you have to go to war against sin. You have to make sin your enemy. Sin. You do. You know what I mean? This doesn't mean you won't mess up, right? But you won't mess up on purpose if you're learning to look at sin as your enemy. Remember, Lucifer is your enemy. Satan, aka Satan, is your enemy. The demons are your enemy. Adultery is your enemy. Lying and stealing is your enemy. Anything that violates your body and your morals is your enemy. And all of this is wrapped up in sin. All of this is wrapped up in temptation. And all of this is wrapped up in your decision to decide, am I going to fall to this temptation and this sin and engage in it, or am I going to stand against it? It's what you put in your head. Remember, even if it's so great, the kingdom of heaven will step in and prevent you from falling into temptation. That's scripture. But you have to make sure you look at sin as your enemy, and that means you have to go to war against it. Like you got to go to war against Lucifer. Remember, because he's already warned against you. War against Lucifer, like you're supposed to, and his demon army who's trying to influence you through television and everything else that tries to control your mind and takes over the battlefield of your mind and control your thought process. Just remember, when you're just, these are your enemies, but you pray for them. You pray for Lucifer. You pray for this stuff because you pray for your enemies, right? But remember, our enemy is Lucifer, who operates through sin. So you got to turn sin into your enemy, all right? You got to turn sin into your enemy, and you can do it. You know what I'm saying? First, starting with yourself. Don't look at everybody else. Sweep behind your own back door. Sweep in front of your front door. Sweep on the side. Sweep on the left. Sweep on the left. Sweep on the right. Sweep, I mean, not sleep. Sweep on the left. Sweep on the left. Sweep on the right. You know what I mean? And clean up. Cut your own backyard in the front yard. And before you get out here telling people what to do, you know what I'm saying? Focus on the sin that's attacking you. And then attack it back, because sin is your enemy. And you never let sin or your enemy overrun you. What you do is you stand up, get your perimeter set up and protected, and then you start watching out for sin that tries to invade your property, invade your heart, invade your mind. So basically, your soul and your spirit and your mind are your property, and you need to protect your property, which means that you need to understand what's coming to attack your property, and that is sin, a sinful nature and temptation, all through the owner of these things and the creator of these traits, Lucifer. So you got to remember, you war against sin. Sin is your enemy, just like the dark side. Okay? I love y'all. I'm out. Don't forget, this is a battle. It's a spiritual, which will one day manifest into the physical. So prepare your mind, prepare your heart and soul spiritually first by developing holy faith. You need to understand that most of the earthly world is not going to make it to heaven. They're not going to find the road to straight and narrow. But you have to develop holy faith so that you'll be able to war against sin and his father properly. I love y'all. I'm out. Be cool, okay? Always be cool.